This is Against All Enemies, a show about threats to American democracy. Political violence is on the rise. An alarming percentage of Americans believe they may have to take up arms against their neighbors. Some are already doing so. Every weekday, Against All Enemies highlights the activities of extremist organizations and their enablers. Our goal is to educate, not to alarm. The threats are real, but if we know what we're up against, together we can beat them. Hi, it's Ken Harbaugh, producer and co-host of Against All Enemies, a YouTube and podcast series exposing extremist organizations and their enablers. Welcome to episode 1. Every weekday, my co-hosts and I will bring you the latest on what is happening in the world of domestic violent extremism, exposing groups like the Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, 3%ers, and the up-and-coming ones like Moms for Liberty. We'll feature interviews with experts, plus our own commentary on what we should be focusing on and how we can fight back. Our lead partner in this work is Task Force Butler, an organization led by Chris Goldsmith, who you'll be hearing from regularly on this show. Task Force Butler does an extraordinary job tracking violent extremists to expose them and hold them accountable. If you want to support their work, a donation link is in the show description. And if you're not a fan yet of what Task Force Butler is doing, trust me, you will be. They are on the front lines every day in our battle to counter violent extremism here in the U.S. A little bit of background. Chris Goldsmith and I are both veterans. The name for this show is drawn from the oaths of office that we both swore upon joining the military. We pledged to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. This show is part of our effort to live up to that pledge. Now, a number of extremist groups have tried to appropriate the oath, arguing that their provocative rhetoric and outright violence is somehow carried out in defense of the Constitution. Some of these groups, like the 3%ers and Oath Keepers, explicitly target and recruit military veterans while invoking the oath of office to justify their anti-democratic, anti-American behavior. It is the height of hypocrisy, and we are calling it out. You may have noticed in the YouTube intro a few visual references to the U.S. military. This is another issue that, as vets, we feel compelled to speak about. Too many of our former brothers and sisters in arms are being drawn into groups that represent the antithesis of what we fought for. These veterans joining the ranks of extremist organizations pose a special threat because of their training and experience and because of their ability to act as force multipliers, drawing in other recruits. We'll call that out too. Expect some hard truths on Against All Enemies and some actionable intelligence. There are things you can do to hold extremists in your own communities accountable. I'll give you just one example. You know those book bans that have been sweeping the country? They have been propelled by a handful of extremists, often in coordination with each other, with the backing of groups like Moms for Liberty, which, by the way, openly and proudly quoted Hitler in a recent newsletter. When these groups are challenged at public meetings for school boards or libraries, they often back down. And who is standing up to them? It's us. As Alice Walker famously said, we are the ones we have been waiting for. If we're going to push back against the extremist wave sweeping this country, it's going to take all of us working together. So that's what to expect from this show. Please like and subscribe, and if you have questions or suggestions, leave them in the comments. We will do our best to get back to you. For today, I want to talk about the normalization of extremist language and symbols. You've probably seen the Nazi flags being waved outside Disney World in Florida. These kinds of displays would have been unthinkable not long ago. But something has emboldened the extremist fringe to express itself in ways they wouldn't have dared to a few years back. When it comes to who is providing that permission structure for expressing extremist ideology, we don't have to look far. Take a look at this short clip from a recent political rally.
What should President Trump do on day one when he gets back in?
Lock him up!
Lock him up, right? The deep state, take it down?
Yeah, take it down. And take him to the train station.
Take him to the train station? I didn't say that. But the deep state's got to go, right?
That saying, "take them to the train station," is a reference to the Holocaust. It's a line that appears everywhere on right-wing websites and in extremist chat rooms, and the fact that just about everyone in that video appeared to get the reference and then laugh at it tells you a lot. Now, that laughter is a classic defense mechanism. You say something this disgusting, this anti-Semitic, then retreat. And when called out, you claim you were just joking. But this is how a genocidal mindset becomes normalized. This crowd is literally laughing at the suggestion of sending political opponents to gas chambers. It's not hard to see how we get from that to Nazi flags outside Disney World. The normalization of violent, hate-filled rhetoric is one of the markers of a society rushing towards civil strife. When political enemies are cast as subhuman, worthy not only of contempt but of murder, then violence isn't far behind. This kind of talk is dangerous and undemocratic, and we are going to call it out. But what we could really use are political leaders with credibility in crowds like the one you just saw calling it out as well. That would take some courage, but we've seen it before. The clip I'm going to show you next feels like it's from a different age, but this kind of truth-telling should be timeless. Here's John McCain standing up to hateful rhetoric.
We're scared. We're scared of an Obama presidency, and I'll tell you why. I'm concerned about someone that cohorts with domestic terrorists such as Ayers.
I have to tell you, he is a decent person and a person that you do not have to be scared as President of the United States. Now, look, I
got to ask you a question. I do not I can't trust Obama. I have read about him, and he's an Arab. He is not. No,
man. He's a decent family man, citizen that I just happen to have disagreements with on fundamental issues, and that's what this campaign is all about. He's not. Thank you.
At Against All Enemies, we are going to call out hate wherever we see it. We are going to hold extremists and their enablers accountable. But we can't do it alone. In the coming weeks and months, we'll have specific calls to action on issues that need your support. In the meantime, stay vigilant and know that the violent and hateful rhetoric we see so much of today, the book bans and Nazi flags, that is not normal in a free, safe, and stable society. Stand up to it when you can, in school board meetings or in online groups. And if you want to support the work we're doing here, help us grow this show. Please like and subscribe, tell 2 friends about what we're doing here, and repost us on social media. Thanks for your support. I'm Ken Harbaugh. We'll be back tomorrow.